My topic is about the Cultural Revolution and Lao She's death, and today we will be discussing about the following questions. How was Lao She treated in Communist China? What was his reaction to the Cultural Revolution and how did this lead to his death? What are the controversies surrounding Lao She's death and why was Lao She unable to fully support communism? First, I'm going to explain why there is a correlation between the book and the Cultural Revolution. The story is set in a period prior to Communist China, and during that period, China was in control of warlords. Through Lao She's sarcastic comments on politics, it greatly reflected the living condition in Beijing at that time, and it also shows his sympathy towards the lower classes, people like Lao She, and also his disagreements towards individualism. The Cultural Revolution was launched by Mao Zedong and the chairman of the Communist Party of China. Its stated goal was to preserve Chinese communism and suppress capitalism by purging remnants of capitalist and traditional elements from the Chinese society. Mao Zedong felt that his position was threatened because his attempts to improve agricultural and industrial economy of China, also known as the Great Leap Forward, had failed. To gain back his mojo, he first attacked India. Secondly, he asked committed workers to attack those who were enemies of communism. People involved are Mao Zedong, which is the first chairman of China and the co-founder of this Chinese Communist Party; Zhou Enlai, the foreign minister of China; Jiang Qing, Mao Zedong's wife and personal secretary; Lin Biao, Mao's chief deputy and he's in control of the Chinese Liberation Army; Deng Xiaoping, Liu's chief supporter and successor; and Lao She, second chairman of People's Republic of China. The strategies are education reforms. Mao Zedong's thoughts were introduced to the student. Little Red Book, Mao Zedong's law and his quotes of wisdom. Red Guards form a student military to purify society. Gang of Four composed of 4 Chinese Communist Party officials, and they're in control of a lot of Chinese power institution, media, and propaganda. 4 old thoughts, old culture, old customs, and old habits have to be eliminated. People's Liberation Army. The Great School of the People's Liberation Army itself was made the object of national study in the Learn from PLA campaign. One study theme was the famous 3-8 work style, expressed in 3 phrases and 8 characters. The phrases were a firm and correct political orientation, and plain hardworking style, and flexibility in strategy and tactics. The 8 characters stood for unity, alertness, earnestness, and liveliness. The Cultural Revolution started at 1966 May 16 through 1976 October 6. It ended shortly after Mao Zedong's death, and their targets are usually intellectuals, party and government officials from all parts of the country, landlords, witch peasants, counter-revolutionaries, righteous, and basically anyone who poses threats to this movement. And the consequences are China left without intellectuals, lost education, industrial and agricultural output had fallen, and millions persecuted and millions died. How was Lao She treated in the Communist China? In the Cultural Revolution, he was labeled as a traitor and American spy. Like thousands of other intellectuals in China, he experienced mistreatment, and the Red Army has accused him of being counter-revolutionary. And he also attended the struggle section. A struggle section was a form of public humiliation and torture that was used by the Communist Party of China at various times. And the aim of the struggle section was to shape public opinion, humiliate, persecute, or execute political rivals, those deemed class enemies. In general, the victim of the struggle section was forced to admit various crimes before a crowd of people who would verbally and physically abuse the victim until he or she confessed. Struggle sections were often held at the workplace of the accused, but they were sometimes conducted in sports stadiums where large crowds would gather if the target was well known. Lao She was humiliated both mentally and physically. What was his reaction to the Cultural Revolution? Lao She was, in the words of Mao Zedong's wife Jiang Qing, an unreformed intellectual. He got tired of the propagandistic literature of that time. He said that we can't just stretch our necks and shout slogans. He originally supported the idea of communism because it actually did improve the poor people living standard and living style, but not when it threatens people's life. And this moment in some way had already disobeyed his original will. That's why he doesn't want to join it. How does this lead to his death? In the beginning of the Cultural Revolution, Lao She was ill and hospitalized. He left the hospital as soon as possible due to his anxious to participate in a revolution that he had been struggling to understand. On 23 August 1966, he went back to work and he found his fellow writers and artists in the hands of a group of Red Guards. The Red Guards shaved the head of their captives in a humiliating style and hung big signs on their necks saying cow demons or snake spirits. They were also forced to kneel down around the burning fire. He was beat up with stage props and leather belts. He fainted and fell to the ground. The next day he was sent to a police station and he was forced to carry a label saying counter-revolutionary everywhere. Lao She reached home covered with blood and none of his family members believes that he's innocent. Then Lao She went alone to the edge of Taiping Lake in the northwest part of Beijing with Mao's poem. He sat there for the whole day and drowned himself in the evening. What are the controversies? Why did he supported the ideology of communism. The Chinese Communist Party praised him as the people's artist, yet according to his wife, Hu Jieqing, Zhou Enlai rejected his application to join and telling him he was more valuable, endorsing its action on the outside. And his son is still unsure of his father's motive and insists that he remained a true believer in Mao, even taking a copy of his poem with him to his death. Why did he attend the struggle section and who organized it? His wife claimed that he went voluntarily, and the scholar Fu believes that the party never intended to criticize him. However, the head of the secret police did telephone Lao She, inviting him to a meeting and to participate in the Cultural Revolution. The Cultural Revolution is a revolution to touch everyone's soul, and how can I not go? Lao She's wife quoted her husband saying this before he left. Who then ordered this persecution? According to the Red Guard leader, someone from the Writers' Association had called her in the morning of the beating, ordering her to ready her group to make rebellion. The woman, now a school janitor, claims that girl had no idea who the victims were and what crimes they have committed. There are 3 suspects, however, who ran the Revolutionary Committee in the Writers' Association. 2 of them, Haran and Chao Ming, belong to a younger generation of writers who rose to power by taking part in the 1942 Yan'an Forum, and the third is Hu Wenjun, a graduate student from Beijing University. Lao She's son, Shu Yi, believes that this younger writer hated Lao She because he consistently declined to write introduction and endorsed their propaganda novels. Witnesses claim that all 3 instructed the student to single out Lao She and incited them by saying he was not accepted into the party membership because he was disloyal to Mao, and that he had accepted money by selling the rights of camel Xiangzhi. Lao She killed himself because of tension at home. Haran said that if the family of Lao She had treated him better, Lao She would never have committed suicide. Chao Ming alleges Lao She's wife responded coldly to the news of her husband's death, saying, "He died, so he's dead." Chao has also publicly dismissed its significance by writing that many people committed suicide at that time, but he just happened to be famous. So why was Lao She unable to fully support communism? Here are some quotes that I have chosen from the rickshaw boy regarding Lao She's opinion towards individualism. I believe that Lao She's characteristics was similar to Xiangzhi. He wanted to be individual, but he knew he can't. He created this character to prove that his decision was correct. You cannot survive in a society if you value individualism. Helping the government and the party, serving people in literature and art, this is also Lao She's definition of his literary mission and life mission in New China. Independence was Lao She's most cherished spirit, and he doesn't belong to any party. He has repeatedly emphasized in his articles that it is independence that made his series of work, Lao Zhang's philosophy, Cat City to Camels Xiangzhi. Before liberation, he said that I wrote things and I pay most attention to how well I wrote. Now I pay the most attention to whether it is right or wrong. If it is right, it is really good. If it's wrong, then it is not good. He acknowledged that his work lacked enthusiasm and to this end, he refuted, "My tenderness is more than a positive struggle, and my humor dilutes my sense of justice. The worst thing is that I wrote Cat Town because of the darkness of politics at that time. Among them, I satirized not only the warlords, politicians, and rulers of the time, but also people who moved forward, saying that they only talked empty words and did not do real things. This is because I failed to participate in the revolution, so I only felt that some revolutionaries, they are empty and do not understand their enthusiasm and ideals. I regret that I wrote such a satire and decided not to reprint that book. Cats in the 1930s is Lauser's most pessimistic novel and his most controversial work. Not only did he ironically expose the darkness of Chinese society, he also satirized the revolution, especially the Communist Revolution.